Welcome, everybody, to today's webinar with the top members of the Code 2025. I'm Gabriela Kuhn. I'm Head of Program on Child Protection in Travel and Tourism at ECPAT International, and I'll be your host today. We are thrilled to have you join us. This webinar is organized with the top members of the Code, as well as with its members, civil society organizations, and there are also tourists and representatives of schools and tourism schools that are joining us today. And we are organizing this webinar as a networking platform, convening leaders who are setting very high standards for sustainable tourism with child protection at its core. Yesterday, we had a great webinar with the top members of the Code in the Americas, from the North and Latin America, with great and inspiring examples. And we are very much looking forward to hearing examples today and good practices and exchange with all of you, with the companies that are working in Europe, in Asia, and in Africa. So just before we get started, a few quick notes. We are recording this webinar today and we'll be sharing the slides with everybody afterwards. We encourage everybody to use the chat if you have any questions, and we'll be answering them after the panels and the presentations. We also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end where we can address all the questions. So with this, I would like to now get started and hand over to Sandrine Constant, who is Director of Research and Learning at ECPAT International, and to Lauren Aste, who is Executive Vice President and Chief Legal Officer at CWT, as well as Board Chair of the World Childhood Foundation, and the lead of the Child Protection Working Group that we run with the World Travel and Tourism Council. So first, over to you, Sandrine.
Thank you very much, Gabriela, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone. It's really fantastic to see, those companies represented here today from Africa, Europe, and Asia. This webinar is really showing that you all care about children and that your business is committed to making sure that no child is harmed as a result of tourism. And it's really heartwarming to be able to celebrate this commitment and the top members of the Code this year. We'll be highlighting the work of our top Code members this year, but it's also a good opportunity to celebrate and to learn from each other. I'm sure you'll be excited to hear from the colleagues who are putting child protection into practice in their businesses and in their destinations, and proving that if we work together, businesses, communities, and civil society, we all can make a real impact, and progress can be happening to protect children in all contexts. For me and for all of you, I'm sure, tourism is an incredible, powerful force in the world, and it connects people, it promotes peace, and it drives development. But of course, for tourism to be truly sustainable, we must protect children and put the protection of children not just as an additional activity, but at the heart of responsible and future-proof sustainable tourism. Yesterday in the webinar, we heard about the work that was done by incredible companies, and also the integration of child protection knowledge and skills in tourism education to show that it has to be at the heart of our businesses if we want our business to be truly contributing and thriving in the future and today as well. Together, by listening to children and acting with courage, we can make tourism a force for good that keeps every child safe. And you're all a testimony of this. So I'm really looking forward to the incredible examples, the stories, and the inspiration we'll hear today, and to celebrating the impact that you're all making. Thank you very much, Gabriela, to all the speakers and attendees, and look forward to hearing from all those good examples.
Great.
Thank you so much, Sandrine, and I'll hand over now to Lauren.
Yes, thank you so much, Sandrine. That is incredibly inspiring and a wonderful way to open our call. I'm also honored to be part of today's discussion and excited to learn more from all of you about the work you're doing to ensure child protection continues to be a central part of how we look at sustainability in travel and tourism. I work for CWT, a global meetings and events and travel management company, and we have a long history of supporting child protection in travel and tourism, dating back over 20 years. Our former owner, the Carlson Companies, was the first North American travel and tourism company to sign the ECPAT code in 2004, which was a very important milestone for us. And since that time, CWT has undertaken many initiatives to protect children with a focus on fighting human trafficking, which predominantly impacts children. We have undertaken initiatives ranging from publishing helpline information on our traveler itineraries to raise awareness and reporting, to raising over $100,000 on CWT's booking platform for the World Childhood Foundation, which is an organization that fights child sexual abuse and exploitation. CWT representatives have spoken at the United Nations on the importance of child protection in travel and tourism, supporting the incredible work of Dr. Najat Mala-Majid, who is the special representative to the UN Secretary General on issues of child protection. And following Dr. Majid's inspiration, in January 2024, a small group of companies formed a working group to discuss what more could be done by the private sector to protect children in travel and tourism. And CWT was joined by the Bister Collection and Accor and ECPAT, WTTC, the UK Border Force in these conversations as we looked at ways to mobilize the private sector to develop international best practice standards when it comes to child protection. And you'll hear later on our call about some exciting work that the Bister Collection has been doing with WTTC with the aim of launching an action paper that embodies these best practices. But for now, today, we are celebrating with you, as Sandrine mentioned, as all key members of the code and important stakeholders in our initiatives to protect children. There cannot be sustainability without child protection, and you are all proving that we are making this core to our business. What each of you is doing is incredibly inspiring, and I am personally excited to hear about the best practices you are each going to share today. And thank you all for setting the standards. And with that, Gabriela, I will turn it back to you.
Thanks so much, Lauren. And I would like to thank you for being with us and for being a driving force of on this topic from the private sector perspective for years, because you've been also part of the first global summit on child protection that took place many years ago in Bogota. That was even before the times when we had Zoom calls. So that was already quite some time ago, and you're really driving force for that. So thank you for your words and for being here and leading this movement on child protection. So with this, I'd like to hand over to our panelists who will share with us on how they work with their companies on child protection in travel and tourism, and they will share some practical examples and good practices. We have with us today Joanna Meyer, who is manager in Corporate Responsibility Group of Human Rights for Der Tour Group in Germany. We have with us Winston Hannes, Senior Vice President of Operations at Archipelago in Indonesia, and Carla Linders-Matti, who is a Sustainability Coordinator and Adventure Specialist for Adventure Specialist BV Koning App Shoestring from the Netherlands. So we have different perspectives from different companies Everybody will focus a little bit on different topic, but they will all show their critical role in protecting children. So first, let me hand over to Joanna, who will share with us their practical measures that are resulting from the risk analysis they've done and the broad approach that they are taking as their tour group. Over to you, Joanna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gabriela. First of all, a warm welcome also from my side. Thank you very much for having me today at the webinar and having the chance to give you all a little insights on what we as Dare to Group do in terms of child safeguarding. Maybe one or two words to our company. I work at Dare to Group. We are one of the biggest tour operators in Europe. So we have like around 16 source markets in Europe. We are around 130 companies in all our group. We have around 9,000 employees and also our own growing DMC and hotel network. So what I brought for you as information of today is a little bit separated in two parts. So first of all, I would like to give you some information regarding the German Supply Chain Act. And then on the second part, I will give you some insights on what we do regarding child safeguarding. So then we can go on the next slide. So just a little insights on what is also a little bit the framework of what we are doing. So in Germany at the moment, we have a German supply chain law that applies since January 2023, and it's a law to ensure human rights and environmental protection along the whole supply chain. And if we have a look on the next slide, you can see that there are a lot of human rights legal positions embedded in the law. So basically, the law ensures human rights and environmental protection along the supply chain and defines some due diligence obligations that companies must fulfill. And as you can see, as I put it here in yellow, there are also two legal positions that really focus on children. In the law, to be honest, it's a little bit more focused on child labor, not so much on like child safeguarding in general. But we, as being a tourist company, we took it a broader concept and say, okay, the whole concept of child safeguarding, of course, in travel and tourism is important for us. And we also see that then in the law. So basically, what is the law about? The law is about to identify and reduce risks in the company's own business area and also within the supply chain. The law is applicable to all German companies and subsidiaries, and until or from the beginning of 2023, it was for all companies that have more than 3,000 employees, and from last year on for all companies that have more than 1,000 employees. So we, as Dare to Group, being a big company, we fall already under the law from the beginning on, and the law includes all products and services of Dare to Group. Okay, on the next slide, I can give a little insight on how we then put a management system in order to really manage the law and make sure that all the due diligence obligations that we have from the law are really managed well here within Dare to Group. So what we did is basically we put a comprehensive risk management and supplier management system. We established 6 due diligence in our companies. You see all 6 here. I can go like just quickly around them, and then maybe we have a more deep dive look on the risk analysis. So what we did is basically, first of all, we implement the risk management in our core business, and we appoint certain responsibilities in different departments. And then the second and the third, I would say, is more or less the heart of the management system, because it's the risk analysis and the measures. So what now we are obliged by law, and what we do is that we carry out a human rights risk analysis annually and also ad hoc, having a look on all our products and on all our suppliers. And then with the new information and with the results we get from the risk analysis, then we have a look and rederive preventive and remedial measures. Another obligation of the law is that we have to establish a complaints procedure, or also called a grievance mechanism. We did this 2 years ago, so that's also working really well, and it's publicly available for everybody. Then at the beginning, there was also an obligation to do an annual reporting. Now the German government changed and they abolished this one, so we don't report anymore. And the sixth is that we had a declaration of principles. You can also have a look on that on our website if you're interested. And then maybe just one more word for a better understanding of the law. The law is divided in 2 parts. So we have to take care, of course, of our own business area. And in our own business area, meaning our own DMCs, our own hotels, for instance, we have a compliance obligation. So we really have to make sure that all these due diligence obligations are in place. But the law, of course, also focuses a lot on the supply chain. And for the supply chain, we have an effort obligation. That means that we have to look on our direct suppliers, but also go further on our supply chain, having also a look on our indirect suppliers. Effort obligation means basically that we have to derive and implement effective and also appropriate measures in order to prevent and mitigate human rights violations in our supply chain. Okay, then on the next slide, I would love to give you some more insights or make a little deep dive maybe on the risk analysis, because I think that could be interesting for you. So now, as I said, we conduct risk analysis on a yearly basis. And we always start with an abstract risk analysis, meaning that all our suppliers are evaluated according to risk priorities. There we have a look on the abstract country risk and the abstract industry risk. So for giving you maybe an example, you can imagine that maybe the transport industry in Switzerland do not have the same risks for human rights violations as, for instance, the hospitality industry in India. So there we have all the abstract data coming in. Then for all the suppliers that come out of the risk analysis with a very high probability on an abstract level, we do a specific risk analysis, meaning that we're sending out questionnaires, really asking our suppliers for more information. And then with all the information we are gathering for the suppliers, the last step is then always to derive measures in order to improve the situation together with this supplier. Okay, then we can go on the next slide. So then now I would like to make the turn and have a look a little bit more on our commitment on child safeguarding. Child safeguarding has always been a strong focus for us and a key issue for many years, also before the German supply chain law have been in place. But as you can imagine, now with the law, of course, the topic got even more important, let's say, also on a compliance level. So we are even strengthening our commitment on child protection. So we can have a look on the next slide. So basically, what we did is that in 2022, we rolled out our comprehensive child safeguarding guideline and our policy statement. And this sets really the framework for all our commitment. It has elaborated with a lot of really, powerful and helpful partners, and a lot of knowledge went there inside, also from civil society actors. Our guideline has basically some core elements. So first of all, we defined product requirements, meaning that we defined which products we, let's say, allow and do not allow. So for instance, we set a clear framework that we said that, for instance, like visits to schools or visits to orphanages, or also all volunteering activities with children are not longer allowed in our supply chain. So we basically delisted all those activities from our products. For other products, we set really strong requirements, for instance, for homestays and also for social projects. Then secondly, we set communication standards for all our group, making sure that we all communicate in an appropriate way when it comes to child protection. Then the third point is training and sensitization, and this is really important for us because there we see a really strong possibility to really make positive impact. So of course all our employees do the Decode training, but additionally, for instance, we also do training in our own hotels that are live trainings with the employees. We have a great trainer from ACPAD, and she's traveling around and really giving good trainings to make sure that the employees in the hotels are well informed and sensitized on the topic. Then in 2022, we did the harmonization on the code, meaning basically that we put the whole all there to companies and integrated them in our commitment with the code. And last one is, we do, of course, also the annual reporting. To put it in a nutshell, the guidelines set a really clear framework and also strict requirements for our commitment on child safeguarding. Okay, then we can have a look on the next slide. So I brought this slide to also show you a little bit what are our plans, because that's what we already did. We have that in place. It's working good. There's, of course, always a lot of room for improvement, but we always want, of course, also to strive to further commitment and see what we can also do better and where we can improve. So at the moment, we have two, I would say, little projects going on. What we plan for this year. So first, we plan do's and don'ts for travelers. So basically, we plan that this would be a sheet of paper, maybe, or information with tips and information for interacting with children appropriately and sensitively when traveling. So information for our travelers regarding taking photos of children, or what about gifts, how to interact with children who might be begging in some of the destinations. Here you can see that the idea is also to sensitize our travelers to really make sure that children are not harmed, or to give some more information in order to improve. We elaborate this together with ACPAD Germany and also with the Roundtable Human Rights in Tourism. And the plan is then to make a distribution to our guests with their travel documents and also as information online. And the second project we're working on is our additional questionnaires. So also together with ACPAD Germany and the Roundtable Human Rights in Tourism, we are at the moment elaborating questionnaires for assessing and ensuring child rights in homestays. There, for instance, we want to make sure that children in our homestays, of course, they're safe, and that we really work together with homestays who take care of children when our travelers are there. So we can think of topics regarding, for instance, the right to privacy of children in a homestay, or prevention of child labor in a homestay. So assessing, okay, do children participate, do they work also in the homestay, and to there get a better understanding, and then of course together with the homestay improve the situation, or make sure that the children are not harmed. And there we plan then at the end a risk-based approach for the rollout. So as I said, we already have a lot of information on our suppliers, so then we can also manage that quite well, having a look, let's say, on the more risky areas to then roll out also those questionnaires. So that was basically the information I brought for today. I think questions are for the end, right? Gabriela? So
Yes, we
then,
can keep the
yeah,
questions at the end of this panel.
perfect.
Thank you so much. This was so
Yeah.
informative and so interesting to see how it's framed in the legal framework that you have in Germany. And especially the elements also that align so well with all the policies of the code as regulating voluntarism with children that all the members also of the code are following, but your approach also with the suppliers and the homestays. And making sure that throughout supply chain children are protected. Thank you so much for sharing it and the risk-based approach. I think it's very informative for all the members. There may be also questions, I think, coming on that. Thank you so much, Joanna. With this, I will now turn to Winston, and you will tell us of your experience of Archipelago, of protecting children across your hotels, and also speak more about the training approach you take. Over to you, Winston.
Great. Thank you, Gabriela. Yeah, I'm really proud to be here and to have been chosen as one of the best for the code this year with our reporting. So it's quite an honor to be here. And a good morning and a good afternoon to everybody out there. So yeah, Archipelago is the largest privately owned hotel management company in Southeast Asia. We have hotels in the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cuba, and pretty soon in Dominican Republic and Saudi Arabia. So we're growing. And a few years ago, we were informed about the code, and John Flood, our CEO, and I discussed, the code and what the code can help us with in Indonesia. And this was just about COVID time. And we really felt that Archipelago should do something about this and should get involved. We believe that child welfare is very important, and in the hospitality industry, we need to take care of children and youth and all of our employees. So I really want to thank the code for providing the training, for providing all the tools that we need to train our staff. And we embraced the code. And yeah, so far, I think we've been able to ensure that in all of our 160 hotels, the staff understand what the code is. They understand what is out there as far as, dangers to children, and how we in the hotel can provide a safe environment and be aware of the situation and act if there is an issue in the hotel. So yeah, at Archipelago, we believe that child protection is not just a compliance matter, as it says here, but a responsibility embedded in our culture. Archipelago believes in working with every community. We're, like I said, we have 160 hotels, and we want to make sure in all of those communities we're an active participant, and we educate people on child safety, on sustainable tourism. Yeah, we're a partner wherever we are. Next slide. So why does it matter? So again, hotels are often used for certain trafficking, and we want to make sure that that's not happening in our hotel. We want to make sure, from the security guards to the front office staff, to the housekeepers, to the F&B staff, we want to make sure everybody knows any telltale signs. Everybody is trained on how to react if they notice something that is not right. So we know we're on the front line, and we want to make sure that we do something about it. And like I said, with the code and also the support of Expat Indonesia, Andy and his team are super supportive when we need any kind of training or new material. We need to keep our staff fresh, trained, and ready to react if anything happens. We're also involved in making sure that in the community, the schools also have the training that they need to be aware of child trafficking. Next slide. So far, we have our policy on child protection, and we have the training for all of our staff. Everybody that joins the hotel in their induction is explained what the code is and what we do. We have annual training for everybody. We have SOPs on what to do if they find something that's maybe not right in the room, maybe there's some paraphernalia, or they see something, or when somebody checks in, it doesn't really look like maybe a father and a daughter, maybe the age difference is too much. They know how to professionally act when something like that happens. And if something is noticed, they clearly have an SOP of how to react and how to report something that's not right. So again, we feel that if everybody's trained properly, we can solve any problems. And it has happened, and we have been able to react professionally. Next slide. So here are a few pictures of the training sessions that we have in our hotels. Our GMs have all completed expat code of conduct training. We have over 20,000 employees across our 160 hotels. They have all been trained. And again, like I mentioned, annually we do a refresher course so that, again, if we have any new staff, they are well trained and know what to do if anything happens. Next slide. So like I mentioned, we have an onboarding program. So all new employees, when they come on board, they understand what happens, and we have the test through the code on their website. I highly recommend, if you haven't taken the quiz, take the quiz. It's very informative. Like I mentioned, we have the annual refresher in all of the hotels to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. And yeah, in our daily operations, if something is noticed, whether it's somebody in the restaurant, somebody checking into the hotel, somebody who comes to deliver supplies to the hotel, everybody's aware of what to do. Next slide. So if you look at the chart, right, you can see the number of hotels we have and training sessions concluded. It looks like the numbers gone down, but actually that's because we're halfway through the year. But halfway through the year, we've already done a huge number of trainings, and our corporate human resources team keeps an eye on this and logs all the trainings. And we have a database where it has a picture of the training, who was at the training, how many people were trained. So we have documentation to ensure that every hotel is participating. Next slide. Here is a little bit more of what we do at the hotels. Here's some posters that we put up around the hotel. And again, more pictures. We do training both online and offline in the hotel. So again, we want to ensure that, you know, when people come to work, these posters are up in the human resources area and by the staff canteens. So, you know, as the staff are at their job, they're reminded of the importance of keeping an eye open and making sure that human trafficking is not going on in our hotels. And yeah, we are a safe place. Next slide. So again, we work with expat and we work with local NGOs. We are planning on International Children's Day on November 20th this year to work with all of our hotels, 160 hotels across Indonesia. We're going to work with the local schools in the area, and with the code and expat training materials, we are going to do all at the same day, a training program to ensure that teachers in the schools are aware of child trafficking and what to do about it, and that they can bring this to hopefully the students, keep an eye on the students, and just to make sure in general that people are aware and we can hopefully reduce any child trafficking that's going on. This is still in progress right now. I'm hoping maybe next year I can present, how we were able to get 160 communities involved on the same day to pass on the word that is very important to pass on. We have an anonymous reporting system in place. On the poster, there's a anonymous email where people can send an email. It goes directly to our CEO and myself. So we can make sure that we follow up on anything that might be happening in the hotels. And also in our supply chain, all of our suppliers need to sign a document that ensures that they are not involved in any child trafficking or child labor. So again, we make sure that people that we're dealing with are honest and are also aware of this situation. Next slide. So the results, 95% of our hotels have child protection officers in place. This is something that we came up with after working with Expat and the Code. So we have one staff who is responsible to walk the property, ensure that the pool is safe, that, elevators, lifts, there's any potential open windows or some place that a child could get out. And also this person is the contact person if any of the staff feel that there could be a child that is in danger. So yeah, we have a couple small 2-star hotels that unfortunately haven't been able to do this due to budget restraints. However, we are proud that 95% of our hotels do have this person on board. More guest-facing awareness tools planned. Accor, you mentioned Accor, they're a great hotel management company, and I was at one of their properties just this week, and I noticed a large sign in the lobby mentioning that they were part of Expat and the Code, and I am going to be discussing this with John Flood, our CEO, in another week or so when I get back to Jakarta, to see if that's something we can look at doing, putting a nice big poster up in the lobby. At the beginning, we really weren't thinking about people are coming on holiday, business people coming to the hotels. Maybe it wasn't something that we wanted to put right in everybody's face. However, after looking the way our core did it, that I think maybe we can do something as well. So we're going to work on that. And expanding training, including vendors and partners. We already have the signage, the document that the suppliers have to sign. But when we do this event on November 20th, we're going to try to get some of our vendors and partners involved, not only for the sponsorship, to make sure that they're aware of child trafficking, and of course we'll speak up and make sure that their workplaces and their communities are a safe environment for children. Next slide. So again, child protection is not a project, it's a permanent commitment from our company. Both John Flood and myself feel that we were all kids once, and in Southeast Asia, due to the economic situation, there's more of an opportunity here than, say, America, where I'm from, where these things could be happening. And we want to, John Flood is from Ireland. We want to make sure that, we help out as much as possible in the communities where we work. Again, we're grateful for Code and Expat's guidance and partnerships. Without your training, without your guidance, this would not be possible. So, really thank you guys for being part of this and continuing with this effort. And lastly, we're ready to go. We're going to do more together. And again, like I said, I hope I can share with you the results of our November 20th event. I think that's it. Next slide. Yeah, this right here is some contact information. So this is our corporate office. And as well at the bottom, I have my WhatsApp number there. So if anybody wants to reach out, if they don't have the questions during the Q&A session later, if they want to reach out to me, feel free. I'm always available to answer any questions you might have. Anyway, thank you very much, Gabriela.
Thank you so much, Winston. And that was great. So many practical examples that you shared, and so good to hear about your standard operating procedures with that clear message to the staff that they really feel they are supported by your company to report. So they do not hesitate, and they know that they are backed by your company, which helps in reporting. And examples also with working with the local organization, ECPAT Indonesia. And we also speak more today about the role of local code representatives in their partnership with the companies at the country level. So Celine will tell us more about it. And yeah, thanks also for, referring. And that's also what is this meeting about, networking and exchanging good practice, because you referred about some inspiring practice of Accor, who is actually a long-standing member of the code. And they have great examples that you shared, and they are inspirational also to others. So thanks also for sharing that. With this, I will now turn to Carla. Carla will focus in her presentation about communication, about child protection, about as part of their sustainability approach. Over to you, Carla.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here as a speaker, which I'm very honored. We work since a long time already with ECPAT and the code. Our company is just a small company in the Netherlands. We do group tours around the world to 60 countries with 2 brands, Koning Aap and Shoestring. And as a travel specialist, we feel it's our responsibility to keep children safe wherever we go. And of course, in some destinations, children are more vulnerable, but we always stress that it can happen everywhere in every country. We also go to different countries where you maybe don't expect something to happen, but I think it's important to realize that that we have the responsibility everywhere around the world, to keep our children safe and the children in the communities. I would like to focus on communication with our travelers, because we have since a long time already made a decision that we do not want to visit any projects or excursions or activities where children are involved. So we do not visit orphanages, schools. We don't have volunteering, but I think the most important thing is to explain to our travelers why not. Because of course, a lot of travelers thinks, well, it's nice, we can visit local children, we can bring some treats or whatever, but they do not realize in which way they can harm the children. So I think communication with the traveler is very, very important. Maybe the next slide, please. So that's why we dedicated part of our website to sustainability, and a sustainability page is about a broader aspect of sustainability, not only children, of course, but we have one chapter which means protection, and one part of it is protection of animals, but also protection of children, and there we explain how we do this, and we have a specific block, protect children, and we communicate in many tours we provide. There's a link to this block which is explaining why we do not visit certain do not do certain excursions, how you should act while you see begging children or maybe children at risk. Maybe the next slide. And I think it's also important to explain more in detail how travelers can protect the children and how they can look out for situations which do not feel right. Sometimes it's not very clear to tourists. Sometimes they think, oh, well, this is normal here. But I think it's our duty to explain why it's not normal and how you could see signs of situations where children could be in danger. And of course, it's always the borderline. Is it normal? I mean, it can be a father with a child being on holiday or doing an excursion, but usually you have a gut feel that something is not right. And I think it's very important to listen to that gut feel and to explain to our travelers how they have to look out. This leaflet was made by ACPAT. And we are very happy with this leaflet because it's not only a leaflet for tourists, but we also distributed among all the partners in the supply chain, because this infographic is slightly different for a tourist, but we also have it available for us as tour operator, also for our DMC, for accommodation, for tour guides, for drivers, and it's available in several languages. And I would encourage everyone to use it. It's available. It's very easy to use. I think communication to our travelers doesn't have to be complicated. The next slide, please. So the journey of our travelers is, first they get the information on the website. So we have an informative part of the website, but once they've booked their tour, there's another opportunity to inform our clients, our travelers. So when they have booked the tour, they get a My Site, which is all kind of information for the preparation of the tour. But one part is dedicated also to child protection, with a button where they can report during the tour. So a button where they can click if they see something where they have their doubts, they can just report it. But there's also a download possibility of the infographic. We explain them that they can either report directly, they can go to the tour guides, they can go to our local DMC, they can report to us. So we give them several opportunities to share their thoughts or their doubts or whatever, and it's on us and the tour guide or our DMC to take action. The next one. Because and apart from that, in general, I think we can also ask attention in our social media campaigns. ACPAT and the Code, they provide every year new campaigns. So we use them in our newsletters, Facebook, Instagram, so all other socials, mainly before our high season. And for us, it's in May, June, July, that we have these campaigns to communicate as broad as possible, just to raise the awareness for travelers and to make them part of their responsibility. I think that's it from our side. If there are any questions, please feel free to contact me or us or through ACPAT. There's a lot of material available, and I would like to stress that it's not difficult to communicate. Just do communicate and make the choice to make a step forward to help protect the children. Thank you very much.
This is great, Carla. Thanks for sharing this aspect of your work, where of course you are doing much more, but that was a very interesting spotlight to listen about the communication with travelers and how you can actually influence and change the mindset, including for volunteerism and this approach that tourists need to understand that sexual exploitation of children cannot be normalized anywhere, and it needs to be reported. Thank you so much for sharing, and this very practical also examples of your communication materials. So with that, I would like to thank our three panelists. I don't see any specific questions in the chat as of now, but they may come at the end. But I would like to share also some examples from other companies. We are very grateful that you are here with us today and you speak about your experiences. This year we have 25 top members of the code, and currently the code has 340 members, and we are growing in various countries. And we also received videos with messages from the companies on what tourism and sustainable transformation means to them. This is actually the key topic and theme of today's World Tourism Day, the World Tourism Day of this year. So we have messages from various regions and countries. For example, Kokila Bonner from Mauritius, they share in their video about the training of staff and also how they work with law enforcement and engage all the supply chain in Mauritius. Dada Manga, which is a company from Madagascar, they trained drivers and guides that work in rural areas, and they really showed how this kind of training instills a sense of pride and responsibility in drivers and guides. And they also work with local NGOs to support children, also to end child marriage in Madagascar. We have more messages also from the Americas, and here from this region, from Imbach and Vogelreisen from Switzerland, that has a very holistic approach to sustainability, addressing environmental issues and child rights issues, as most of the companies here. And they share good examples in that video. And also from Thailand, where Eric's Wellness spoke how they engage their staff, how they train the staff so they can recognize and respond to child protection concerns. So this is a richness of perspectives from all over the world, which we invite everybody to see. It's very inspiring. And what is common to all these videos, it's that shared message from the companies that are members of the code, that beyond environmental care, they see tourism as a driver of social change, with the legal and moral duty to protect children from sexual exploitation, to help build safe and resilient communities. So I invite you to watch all of these videos after the webinar, but I would also like to take this opportunity now to invite a representative of local code representatives. Winston, you mentioned how you work with Expat Indonesia. There are LCRs, so-called local code representatives around the world, with most of them are Expat members, who work directly with the companies and help build these partnerships because we need to work on it together. So I will now invite Celine to speak about your experience and how what you are doing offers an added value to the companies and to their processes in due diligence.
Yes,
over to you, Celine.
Thank you, Gabriella, and thank you for having me here. I'm happy to share our experiences in the Netherlands as a local code representative. In the Netherlands, we have around 15 active code members working with us. And well, we have an annual meeting with them just before the reporting. So often it is in January, February, the beginning of the new year. Where we have a meeting and fill in the report, the annual report for the code together. So we see exactly what has been done last year, and we also make plans for what we're gonna focus on in the next year. So we make an implementation plan for that. So we have a quite high rate of reporting because we actually do it together, and often I know also a lot of what they have been doing and the trainings that I provide, and know also what's going on in the country on this field, so we can also make plans for the next year because of what is happening also by other stakeholders in the country. And in the Netherlands, there has been some movement on this issue because recently there was a new research coming out stating that annually, every year, 20,000 Dutch men go abroad to sexually abuse children with that purpose as well. The average age is 35 years old, so that was also quite new information for us, and it also means thinking about measures to combat it with different stakeholders. So it is an important research, and it is important to have a collaboration, a multi-stakeholder collaboration with all kinds of stakeholders to tackle this problem. And in this field, we have a consortium, that's the Don't Look Away consortium, and it exists of the Ministry of Justice, the police, the National Rapporteur on human trafficking, but also members of the tourism sector, so the larger tour operators, and also the branch organization, and also the NGOs that are working on this issue in the Netherlands. And within this cooperation, we try to get the attention going on for this subject. So also in the ministry to make sure that there is attention for it, and also budget for it, and also efforts to combat this crime. And also, for instance, the National Rapporteur on Human Trafficking is also coming with an advice for the government on policy measurements to combat this crime. And the strong research that is founded beneath this is also making our work very visible and visible that it is needed to do something about it with all these stakeholders. Another activity that we are doing together with this multi-stakeholder group is that we have a barrier model, and that is a model where we cut the crime in different phases. So, for instance, the perpetrator will go online and see what kind of trip he or she will making, and what kind of company he or she will use to go to another country. Then he will or she will book a trip, travel to another country, stay there, select a child, abuse a child, and then go back to their home country again. And within all these phases, there are different stakeholders who could have a role in signaling it, or maybe prevent it, to take measures to prevent their company being used for this crime. So therefore, we try to reach out to stakeholders that we don't work with yet, and also stakeholders that could have an active role in the prevention of this crime and the protection of children, to be involved and have an active role to protect children against sexual exploitation when they're traveling abroad. So I think these are good practices in the Netherlands. So active collaboration with the partners, with all the code members, to have an annual report, but also to make in the beginning of the year plans for the whole year, what we can do together, but also to give those companies the knowledge and the expertise and the network of the multi-stakeholders that are also working actively to with the same cause to protect children. So if you want any more information on this, please feel free to contact me anytime. Thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you so much, Celine, and for sharing your experience. And we have 30 local code representatives in various countries and regions around the world who work directly with the companies, supporting them, but also making sure that the perspectives and voices of children are being heard and taken into the consideration where the destinations are being shaped and the programs are being shaped. Thanks so much for that, Celine, and for all these great examples from all of the speakers today. And this really shows how much can be done by each company, whether a big one, whether a small one, whether in Europe, whether in Asia or in some other region. And we all together with the leadership of the Code members, we are building this global movement to protect children in travel and tourism. So I will hand over now to Lauren to tell us more about the plans and some exciting news.
Great. Thank you very much, Gabriella. And thank you, Gabriella, and also to Celine for the amazing insights you just provided. I know, Gabriella, we've worked together through ECPAT for a number of years, and I continue to be impressed by all of the exceptional work you do globally with the frameworks you put into place and the trainings and the guidance you give to all of the Code members. And so thank you very much for that. It's very impressive. With that, I wanted to just preview, at the beginning of the call, I previewed something, we have some exciting news, which is that thanks to the work of the Bister Collection, as well as ECPAT and the WTTC, we are looking to build a global movement for child protection at this year's WTTC Global Summit, which takes place in Rome from September 28th to the 30th. And that event is being sponsored in conjunction with the Italian Ministry of Tourism. And Chantal Khoury, who's on yesterday's webinar, she's the Chief Culture Officer of the Bister Collection, and she will be presenting at the WTTC annual meeting on the work that has been undertaken so far in line with the Bister Collection's Unlock Futures program. And the idea is to, following that meeting, to launch a survey among private sector companies to identify best practices, the sort of best practices that you've been sharing today, but to broaden the scope of that to ensure we catch everything. At the WTTC Global Summit, there will also be opportunities for engagement by companies to talk about what can be done more to protect children in travel and tourism. And there will also be a moment for WTTC members to show their commitment to the issue by standing for a photo on stage during the conference. So WTTC will share more information about all of this with its members. And we would encourage you, if any of you or your companies are attending the WTTC Global Summit at the end of this month, please do consider engaging in these conversations and supporting this commitment. It's really so important and an important moment to come together and really develop a framework and a global movement for international best practice standards. The plan following the conference is to publish an action paper. And again, the Bister Collection and WTTC and ECPAT are working very closely on this. That would be published in Q1 of 2026. And that will encapsulate the best practices, again, similar to what you've all shared today, so that we can learn from each other. And that would be used for broader use in the travel and tourism space. So people in our industry can refer to that as a guide, particularly companies that may not have the practices in place today, to be able to share with them, here are some ways that all companies can make change in this space and support child protection in travel and tourism. So the launch of the action paper, I understand, will be supported by a strong media campaign, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this as the time comes. But we wanted to preview this with this group, knowing you're all very strong advocates for the issue, and certainly would be wonderful to have you as part of that initiative as we move ahead. So with that, Gabriella, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much for anticipating these developments, and indeed the great practices from the Code members, the top members, but other members of the Code will inspire this action paper. So this is so great that you've been sharing these examples here, and and much more will come. So thank you, everybody. With this, I will hand over now to Sandrine for the concluding words.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Thank you, Lauren, and all the speakers and attendees. I think it's been incredibly interesting and inspiring for me, and hopefully for all of you as well, to hear all of this interventions, the good practices that you've all shared. And for me, what struck me is the incredible commitment and dedication that was demonstrated by all the speakers and all the companies, and how they are able to use the transformative power of tourism to bring about significant changes and progress for the protection of children within their businesses, but also beyond that. I was really inspired by Joanna's work and their tour, and how you use the law in Germany to engage not only with your direct suppliers, but also your indirect suppliers, and all of the economy around your businesses, because we know that within formal businesses, tremendous progress have been made by all of you over the past decades to protect children, but there's also still major work that needs to be done within the supply chain and the downstream partners to better understand the risk and put in place mitigation measures, so that it's a community and it's a whole sector effort to implement safeguards and protection measures within the tourism industry and sector. It was also really touching and inspiring to hear from Winston and the Archipelago organization about how child protection is not just a project, it's a permanent commitment. I thought that was such a strong statement. And to see also how you go the extra miles to make sure that staff are not just informed, but they also are offered concrete trainings, and they know specifically how to identify risk, how to report them, and they're supported it to not only report, but also act to protect children. And that's really critical, because knowledge is one thing, but you also need to be able to have strong measures in place so that staff and colleagues can report and know that something will be done about the reporting mechanisms and the complaints that are received. It was, I mean, the communication approach of Koning app and Shoestring that was presented by Carla is also incredibly important, because as you said, it's not just about educating tourists, it's also using that opportunity that your businesses have to explain why volunteerism and visiting orphanages and schools can actually harm children, where sometimes people think that they're doing good, but they don't see the whole picture and they don't necessarily understand the implications of it. So how do you all use campaigns to communicate broadly and make child protection part of your businesses and your work, but also engage with travelers and promote their responsibilities as well to act ethically within the communities is really critical and inspiring. And thanks a lot to Celine and the incredible work that has been done by ECPAT Netherlands for such a long time, through the various campaigns and the barrier models that you're putting in place to address still the too many tourists who are traveling with the intention to sexually exploit the vulnerabilities of communities and children in some destination, while it was also highlighted very interestingly that children can be in vulnerable situations everywhere, and it's critical that our organization think about it as a holistic approach and not just as specific destinations, because we know now with the use of technologies and etc., children can be put in vulnerable situations and can be made exposed to sexual exploitation almost anywhere. And I'd like to commend the work of the Bicester Collection, the WTTC, and the Global Summit that is happening very soon in Rome. As Lauren mentioned, we would really encourage you to contribute to the survey, to share your good practices and inspiring initiatives that will help us develop this action paper. And if you are in Rome at the WTTC, please join us, connect with all of us, show your commitment, and we really encourage you to use your power and the opportunities that you have within your organizations to engage other suppliers, other organizations to join the code developed with ECPAT, but also to join the initiatives to protect children and put measures in place to make sure that we contribute to a movement, a global movement that will continue and will progress to protecting children everywhere in travel and tourism and beyond. Thank you very much. It's been really inspiring to work with all of you, to hear all of your practices. And I look forward to the new journey all together.
Thank you so much, Sandrine, and everybody. If there are any questions coming, everybody can contact either directly the speakers who shared their contacts, or you can contact ECPAT International or DCI Netherlands or all the other LCRs that we are working with. So this is a unique moment because we have global webinars for the top members once a year, but we have ongoing cooperation with the members of the code throughout the year, through webinars, through various training events, and the upcoming initiatives that were just mentioned. So we'll be in touch. And we'll be bringing your good practices around the world, inspiring other companies to join this movement. Thank you so much, and we keep in touch. So for now, we are closing this webinar. Thank you, everybody.